Hello everybody, I'm Joseph from MTG Thoughtcast, and today starts the first day of Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth spoilers. So we're going to jump into it in a second. We're going to go through the spoilers today for the main set. There were some Commander spoilers as well. We can talk about those another time. But before we get into it, if you're not a part of our Discord, we have a link down below. You could jump in the discussion. Everyone's having a great time talking about Lord of the Rings. So if you want to jump in with that, just click the link down below. We'd love to see you there. We're all hanging out. Let's get into it. There's plenty to talk about today, so I'm going to try to get through it in as short amount of time as possible. So we'll just be going through them alphabetically. So the first card that we're going to talk about is Aragorn the Uniter. He is a red, green, white, and a blue cost for a legendary creature, Human Noble. When you cast a white spell, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. When you cast a blue spell, you scry 2. You see the theme here. Whenever you cast a red spell, Aragorn the Uniter deals 3 damage to target opponent. And whenever you cast a green spell, target creature gets +4/+4 until the end of turn. So there's a lot going on with it. It's also a 5/5. So this is clearly a plant for Commander to have another 4-color Commander that's non-black. You really want to be doing creature stuff with this, I would say. So if you have a 4-color humans, this seems like a really great Commander. Yeah, I don't know. It seems okay to me. It's quite the commitment into 4 colors to do some certain things. So if you're doing multicolored spells as well, like you would trigger both of them. So like if you cast a blue and white spell, you would get a 1/1 human and scry 2. So you really want to be playing multicolored stuff with this. I'm really excited to see what people do with it. We have Arwen's Gift is a common. Oh, as well, Aragorn is a mythic from the set. Arwen's Gift is 3 and a blue for a sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control 2 or more legendary creatures. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. So if you have 2 legendary creatures, this is better than Divination, which is totally playable. If not, it's 4 mana at sorcery speed. I would say that this is probably more for limited than anything, but still a cool card. Bilbo's Ring is a 3-mana legendary artifact equipment. As long as it's your turn, equipped creature has hexproof and can't be blocked. Whenever equipped creature attacks alone, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. You can equip a halfling for 1 mana, or you can equip any other creature for 4. So if you're playing a halfling deck, or if this is like one of the precons for the set is halflings with Samwise and Frodo. So this is obviously an include in that because it's better than Whisper Silk Cloak, which gives Shroud and unblockable. You would always rather have Hexproof than Shroud. I can think of very few cases where you'd rather have Shroud. So in this case, it's better than that. Otherwise, if you're not playing halflings, 7 mana is a lot for this effect. I don't know if you'd really be super interested in playing it, but that's Bilbo's Ring. Bill the Pony is a 3 and a white for a legendary creature horse. When Bill the Pony enters the battlefield, create 2 food tokens. Which food tokens is a new, it's a reoccurring theme that comes from a different set. But they are artifact tokens that you can pay 2 and sacrifice the artifact to gain 3 life. So they end up. You're not really going to be paying the 2 for them. There's always going to be stuff like this, which is the other half of his ability, which is sacrifice a food until end of turn. Target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So when this comes down, it's a 1/4, makes 2 food tokens. On its own, you could use its 2 food to sacrifice to himself to make him attack for 4. The fact that it gives it to all. Oh no, it's target creature you control. Never mind, I was reading that incorrectly. This seems okay. This is like Assault. You could just be playing Assault formation or Arcades the Strategist. But maybe this goes in Arcades the Strategist. Who knows? But it's Bill the Pony, regardless. Boromir, Warden of the Tower. This one's very exciting. 2 and a white for a legendary creature, Human Soldier. It is a 3/3 with Vigilance. When it enters. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. That is a very powerful ability in formats like Commander. You can sacrifice Boromir, Warden of the Tower. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn, and the ring tempts you. There's a whole mechanic in this set called the ring tempts you. I should have included something, but I didn't. Basically, you get a series of abilities about the ring that you sort of attach onto your ring bearer who you choose. So for him, being able to sacrifice himself to give creatures indestructible is very powerful, but the fact that he can sacrifice and just make the ring tempt you, there's going to be some strategy with him in the command zone, making infinite white mana. You can just keep on casting him and sacrificing him for that and get all of the ring's abilities. So this is going to be very strong, and then just being able to counter spells that were cast for free, like Force of Will, or anything that is, cast that card without spending its mana cost. This fixes a lot of things. This hard counters Omniscience. There's a lot of things that countering a spell that wasn't spent mana on it does. Council's Deliberation is 1 and a blue for an instant. Draw a card. Sorry. Whenever you scry, if you control an island, you may exile Council's Deliberation from your graveyard if you do draw a card. This is really strong. 2 mana at instant speed to draw a card is totally fine. If you get a second draw off of it from scrying and controlling an island, which is very easy to do, just being able to draw a second card off of this is pretty strong. I like this card a lot. Dunland Crebane? I'm horrible with these names. 2 and a black for a creature bird horror. When it enters the battlefield, it's flying, it's a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, amass orcs 2. So this is another new ability. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on an army you control. It's also an orc. If you don't control an army, create a 0/0 black orc army creature token first. So amass was an ability from War of the Spark, which was this whole thing except with zombies. So it's cool that they're playing around and experimenting with, we can do amass with orcs. It's a really cool way to show the orc army without making you have 1,000 orc tokens lying around. So this is very cool. I'm glad that they're doing this. This is also very strong for limited. I wouldn't be playing this anywhere else. But 2 and a black for a 1/1 flying that also makes a 2/2 on the ground is very strong in limited. So I'm expecting to lose to this quite a bit at pre-release. Eomer, oh gosh, I'm so bad at these names. Eomer, Marshal of Rohan, is 2 red for a legendary creature human knight. It's a 4/4 with haste. Whenever 1 or more attacking legendary creatures you control die, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, really cool flavor for this one. There's also something with that's not him in the art. I was trying to keep up with that, but there's some hullabaloo about that. But, so, basically what you do with this is you're playing this, it attacks. If you have another legendary creature that dies during that combat, like you could, deal with it being blocked, it dying, something like that. You just get to take another combat phase. It sucks that it only triggers once per turn. That really kills this card for me. The beauty in the cards like this, like with Combat Celebrant, is that you can find ways around it to cheat into getting infinite combat steps. So they put a pretty hard stop on that for Eomer. Still seems great. Not sure where I'd be playing it, but I like it. Let's keep going. Eowyn Fearless Knight is 2 red and a white for a legendary creature human knight. It is a 3/4 with haste. When Eowyn enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with greater power. Legendary creatures you control gain protection from each of that creature's colors until end of turn. So this is really cool. This is enter the battlefield, remove something of theirs that has at base value power 4 or higher, which is probably what you want to be removing anyway. And then it gives, at base itself, because it's a legendary creature, protection from each of that creature's colors. So it's going to be swinging in. If you happen to have other legendary creatures down, like if you're playing like Dahada, Binder of Wills, and you have a Mardu Legendary Matters deck, this is going to be great in that, because you're just going to keep slamming this, exiling things. Your stuff gets protection from colors. It's very powerful if you're doing combat-focused things. We have Fangorn Tree Shepherd. It is a 4 green for a legendary creature Tree Folk. It is a 4/10, and Tree Folk you control have Vigilance. So there's a bit of a Tree Folk sub-theme in this set. Whenever one or more tree folk you control attack, you add twice that much green. That is huge. So if you're attacking with a bunch of tree folk, you're just going to get a bunch of green. And then you don't lose unspent green mana as steps and phases end. So basically, what that means is if you add a green mana from tapping a forest or from this or whatever in your main phase, you will be able to keep that until your end step, which normally would, your mana pool empties between phases. So what this does is it keeps it, you still would lose it at the end of turn. This isn't quite the original Omnath that says turns, phases, and steps. But being able to keep that is very powerful. So you could, make a bunch of green on your combat step with this, and then on your second main, you can cast another big tree folk. And all of your stuff having vigilance is very strong as well. And him being a 4/10, he's gonna get in there a lot. So I would say at base value, he's gonna add you 2 mana a turn. Pretty strong. Foray of Orcs is a 3 and a red for a sorcery, amass orcs too. So we talked about amass orcs. When you do, Foray of Orcs deals X damage to target creature and opponent controls, where X is the amassed army's power. So it'll check the power after the counters go onto it. All of these things keep on adding counters onto the same army. You can't have more than one army. So you have the one, it keeps getting the counters built onto it, and then stuff like this is going to keep checking its power to do damage. So this is pretty strong. At base, it's 4 mana for a 2/2 that deals 2 damage to another creature. Again, very strong in things like limited. I'm not sure about outside of that, but very cool card regardless. Here we are, Galadriel Gift Giver, 3 green for a legendary creature, Elf Noble. It is a 4/4. When Galadriel Gift Giver enters the battlefield or attacks, choose one. Put a +1/+1 counter on another creature, create a food token, or create a treasure token. I'm going to tell you, the treasure token is almost always going to be the correct answer, but enters the battlefield and attacks is a very strong combination of words. If you are playing something like a Henzi Toolbox Toure deck or something like that that is reliant on blitzing stuff in, and then it attacks and then it dies and draws cards, you get 2 of those triggers from this. Or if you're doing anything that blinks or anything that gives extra combat steps, stuff like that where you can just really abuse this. As well, it doesn't say that you can only choose one of them per turn like it does on like Galagreeters. So you can just enter the battlefield, make a treasure, attacks, make a treasure, just keep on doing that. Food tokens, if you're doing food token stuff, +1/+1 counters are fine, but the treasure is the real value in this card. Let's move on to Gandalf the White. 3 white for a legendary creature, Avatar Wizard, is a 4/5 with Flash, so you can cast this at instant speed. You may cast legendary spells and artifact spells as though they had Flash. Very nice. If a legendary permanent or an artifact entering or leaving the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. This is Panharmonicon. This is Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. It is so strong being able to do this. The restriction on it is obviously if a legendary permanent or an artifact entering does it. But having another copy of that, I play a Boros Blink deck. I'm very excited to put Gandalf into this. It's also Gandalf. Like, it's cool. Here we have Gimli, Mournful Avenger. 1 red and a green for a legendary creature, Dwarf Warrior. Gimli, Mournful Avenger, has indestructible as long as 2 or more creatures died under your control this turn. Whenever another creature you control dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on Gimli. When this ability resolves for the 3rd time this turn, Gimli fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. There's a lot going on with this. It's also a 3/2. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. This seems okay to me. I don't really know what deck you want to be playing that is red-green and also cares about stuff dying, other than the fact that he has his own fight ability. So maybe you want to play this in a fight deck. I don't know. This one isn't as exciting to me. Gothmog, Mourngul Lieutenant, is 3 and a black for a legendary creature, Human Soldier. It is a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you amass Orcs 1, and creature tokens you control have Death Touch. This is strong. This is good. 4 mana for 4 power at base, and then your 1/1 has Death Touch. Seems really good. And then the more that you amass, like you can chump block with your one that has Death Touch, amass again, make another token. This is a classic strong card for something like limited that might have some niche cases in EDH. Green Dragon Inn is this is a This is a commander card that sneaked its way into here. But they're doing the Universes Beyond, where they have a reprint of a card as the box toppers, and they have them themed. So, for instance, Homeward Path, which is a land that you can either tap for a colorless or tap each player gains control of all creatures they own. They have this reprinted as Green Dragon Inn, so that's cool. Hope there's no more of those in here. Hugh the Entwood is a 3 red sorcery that is a mythic. Sacrifice any number of lands. Reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of lands sacrificed this way. Choose any number of artifacts and or land cards revealed this way. Put all non-land cards chosen this way onto the battlefield. Then put all land cards chosen this way onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is so exciting. I love this card. I love these effects. Stuff that is randomized, that can either win the game or just horribly go wrong, is some of the most fun things that I think you can do in Magic. So to have this is sort of like Nahiri's Lithomancing, where you sacrifice the things and get to play extra lands. The goal here would be put as many lands as you can onto the battlefield, play Hugh the Entwood, sacrifice all of them. Maybe you dig, at base, you're going to be digging 5 cards down and get any, lands and artifacts. Let me read it again. Choose a number of artifact and or land cards revealed this way. Yeah, this is really cool. If you're playing a deck that's built around this, like if you're playing Duretti Scrap Savant or Felden of the Third Path, any of those mono red artifact decks, or even any decks that have artifact decks that are playing red, this is just a really cool potential game ender. It's a mythic, so it's probably going to be a little expensive, but it seems very cool to me. Knights of Dol Amroth is 3 and a blue for a creature human knight. That's a 3/3. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Knights of Dol Amroth. This is a limited theme that they're doing, which is whenever you draw your second card, something happens. So this is a really cool way that they've been playing around in like the blue and white space, is whenever you draw your second card, you get something. So this is just another addition into that type of deck. If you're playing with any kind of Howling Mine effects that just guarantee that you're going to draw your second card every turn, it's going to be great. Last March of the Ents is 6 green for a sorcery at Mythic. This spell can't be countered. We love to see that. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control, then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Strong! This is really good. We've seen these effects before, where you draw equal to the greatest power, and this might be the first one that's draw equal to the greatest toughness. But if you're playing the Tree Folk deck, we saw that one that had 10 toughness, so this might be, can't be countered, draw 10 cards, dump all of your creatures into play. This is unbelievably strong. Look out for this. Okay, we have a cycle of legendary lands that we're going to be talking about. There are 4 of them that have been revealed right now. We have not seen the green one of these lands, but they're all legendary lands that enter the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Tap for a color and then have another ability. So the first one of this is Barad Dur, that taps for a black, or you can pay XX and black, tap it to amass Orcs X. So it makes the army token or adds counters to your existing army token. We have Minas Tirith, same thing, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature, taps for white. You can pay 1 and a white and tap it to draw a card, activate only if you attacked with 2 or more creatures this turn. This one is, I think this one's my favorite, because 2 mana to draw a card with the low activation cost of I'm attacking people is very strong, especially in white, which does not have a ton of card draw. So I'm definitely on the lookout for this one. Mines of Moria taps for a red, and you can pay 3 and a red to tap it and exile 3 cards from your graveyard to create 2 treasure tokens. Another really strong one, because red doesn't get a ton of ramp outside of treasure tokens, so being able to have that in a land slot is very powerful. Rivendell is the blue one, and the last one we'll be talking about today, which is a taps for a blue, and you can pay 1 and a blue, tap it to scry 2, activate only if you control a legendary creature. So this one seems like the worst one to me, just because scrying 2 is not very strong. We have the castle that does that in blue that costs 4, but doesn't require a legendary creature. I guess if you're playing a blue deck where you plan on having your commander out a lot, this is kind of an auto-include, because you're just going to get some value off of it sometimes, which is worth it to me. We have Legolas Master Archer, 1 green and a green for a legendary creature Elf Archer. It is a 1/4 with reach. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Legolas Master Archer, put a +1/+1 counter on Legolas. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you don't control, Legolas deals damage equal to its power up to 1 target creature. So this is very, very sweet with fight spells. If you're playing prey upon effects like that you're casting a spell that both targets him and targets something else, you're gonna get a fight out of it, you're gonna get a counter out of it, and you're gonna get he deals damage up to 1 target creature out of it. So this is a really cool, sneaky fight commander where you're gonna be playing creatures that, you're gonna be playing spells that target him and target something else to get full value off of him. Very cool, I like it a lot. Long list of the Ents. This is wild. This is a saga. So it as this enters and after your draw step, you add a lore counter and then you sacrifice it after 6, which is unbelievable. They've only ever done sagas that have 4 max, maybe. So normally they have different abilities as well, but this is all 6 of its abilities are the same, which is note a creature type that hasn't been noted for long list of the Ents. When you cast your next creature spell of that type this turn, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So this is really strange. It also costs 1 mana and it's an enchantment. If you're playing like a Simic Volo deck where you're playing a bunch of different creature types, because you can't choose the same creature type twice with it. So if you're playing either shapeshifters, like if you're doing Changeling Tribal, or you're playing Volos where you want a bunch of different creature types, this goes in that. Otherwise, it's not very good. You're going to get 1 activation off of it. Maybe 2 or 3, but you're almost never going to get 6 unless you're specifically building around it. But it's so funny to see a card that looks like this. We have Mary, Esquire of Rohan. For red and a white, it's a legendary creature, Halfling Knight. It's a 2/2 with haste. Mary has first strike as long as it's equipped, and whenever you attack with Mary and another legendary creature, draw a card. It's just good value. There's not much else to say about it. Good value. You're playing Boros, you're playing equipment, you're attacking with other legendary creatures, you're drawing cards. It's really good. Mirkwood Bats is 3 and a black for a creature bat at common. It's a 2/3 with flying. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses a life. This is sneaky strong in things like Tivit, Seller of Secrets, which I play, where you're going to be making treasure tokens, clue tokens, food tokens, any of that sort. You're going to be doing quite a lot of damage, and it's whenever you create or sacrifice a token. So this is very strong with treasures, because you're going to get a damage on enter and a damage on mana. So be looking out for this one. I expect this to be one of the more expensive commons of the set. I could see this getting up to $1 or $2. Nasty End is 1 and a black for an instant at common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. Draw 2 cards. If the sacrificed creature was legendary, draw 3 cards instead. This is very cool. I play Slimefoot and Squee, where I'm looking to be sacrificing my commander. If you have anything like that where you're trying to sacrifice your commander, this is very strong. This is Village Rites, other cards like that sacrifice a creature and draw 2 cards. I would pay the extra 1 to draw 3, so this is another one I'm looking out for. This set is looking very cool so far. This is a cool one. This got me a little excited. Nazgul is 2 and a black for a creature Wraith Knight. It is a 1/2 with Death Touch. When Nazgul enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, put a +1/+1 counter on each Wraith you control. The last line is, a deck can have up to 9 cards named Nazgul. It's so exciting because they have printed 9 different arts for Nazgul. It's so sick. So you could play with one of each of these. It's just so thematic, and so this is what I love to see from something like Lord of the Rings. So very cool. If you're gonna play one of them, you're probably playing 9 of them. Similar to if you're playing the 7 Dwarves or if you're playing Shadowborn Apostles, this is just another sort of version of that. And as they enter, the ring tempts you, they each get +1/+1 counters. You have a large army of Nazgul Wraiths. So very cool. Oliphant is 5 and a red for a creature elephant at common. It's a 6/4 with trample. Whenever Oliphant attacks, Another target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains trample until the end of turn. And it has mountain cycling for a 1. So I guess this is another ability that they're bringing back, which is mountain cycling. So you can pay 1 and discard this card. Search your library for a mountain card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It's cool. I like it. The fact that it can give itself, it already has trample at 6/4. It can give another creature trample. If you're playing this outside of something like Limited, you're never going to be casting it for its cost. You're going to be discarding it to its mountain cycling ability and bringing it back with Living End. It's a very cool deck. A lot of cycling creatures. This just slots straight into there because it finds you a mountain. Notably, you don't have to find a basic mountain. So you could find like Zayator's Proving Ground. You could find Stomping Ground, stuff like that that has the mountain subtype. It's a very great value card. Don't overlook this. 1 ring to rule them all is 2 black for an enchantment Saga at rare. So same thing with Sagas. They enter the battlefield. You put a lore counter on it after you draw your first card. You put a lore counter on it. After the third one, it gets sacrificed. The ring tempts you is the first one. Then each player mills cards equal to your ring bearer's power. So again, with the ring tempting you, you assign one of your creatures as the ring bearer. So it'll check off of its power. Then each player mills equal to its power. So that's pretty strong. 2 is destroy all non-legendary creatures. The first ring tempting you ability is making the creature legendary. So your ring bearer will not die. It's very cool. This is feeling very much like Phyrexian Scriptures so far. And then the third Saga ability is each opponent loses 1 life for each creature card in that player's graveyard. So after you've board wiped them and they've got a graveyard full of creatures, they're going to lose a bunch of life too. So this is like, it's pretty strong. I don't think it's great, but it'll do some work in the right deck. So, and if you care about the ring tempting you or having a ring bearer or graveyard stuff, it's kind of cool. Orcish Bowmasters is 1 and a black for a creature Orc Archer that is a 1/1 with flash. So again, you can cast at instant speed, which is very good. When Orcish Bowmaster enters the battlefield, and whenever an opponent draws a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, Orcish Bowmasters deals 1 damage to any target, then amass Orcs 1. I love this card. Anything that punishes people for drawing extra cards is fine in my book. So if you've got somebody who's playing in each of the... Oh, this is getting stronger the more I look at it. If you have somebody who's playing a Rhystic Study, outside of their turn, you're going to deal 1 damage to any target and amass Orcs 1 every time that somebody doesn't pay for their Rhystic Study, because this only checks for the first card they draw in each of their draw steps. So if you have somebody who's drawing 2 cards on an opponent's turn, you're going to have 2 damage and amass Orcs 2. This is going to net you insane amounts of value in Commander for 2 mana on a 1/1. I think this is going to sneak under a lot of people's radars and is going to kill people with gigantic orcs and a ton of damage. So this one is very exciting. We're reaching the end here, but Pippin, Guard of the Citadel, is white and a blue for a legendary creature Halfling Soldier. It is a 2/2 with Vigilance and Ward 1, so spells get countered targeting it unless you pay the ward cost. And it can tap for another target creature you control, gains protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. That is strong. This is very Mother of Runes, Skrelv. I like this a lot. The fact that it's in white and blue is a little tough to digest, but this is a killer ability on it. Being able to give something protection from creatures so that it can swing in is really strong. Being able to give something protection from instants so that it can't get destroyed by a single target removal. This doesn't save from board wipes, which is the one thing that everyone wants these to do, but it doesn't. It's very good. The fact that it alone has Ward 1 as well, it's just a good card. This is going to be really good value. It's going to protect you from a lot of things. Pippin's Bravery is green for an instant at common. You may sacrifice a food. If you do, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Otherwise, that creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This card is bad. Prince Imrahil the Fair is white and a blue for a legendary creature Human Noble at uncommon. It's a 2/2. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. They named this appropriately Prince Imrahil the Fair because I think it's a little too fair. I love this ability of drawing your second card each turn, doing things, but making a 1/1 human soldier token is just not quite strong enough for what I like. Quick Beam Upstart Ent is 4 green for a legendary creature Tree Folk. Whenever Quick Beam, Upstart Ent, or another Tree Folk enters the battlefield under your control, up to 2 target creatures each gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. This is sick. This is a little bit of I can't think of the card name, but it's a bit of an overrun effect. Giving +2/+2 and trample to other things is very strong, especially on another Tree Folk entering. This is a Tree Folk finisher, and if it doesn't finish the game, it's going to put a ton of pressure on your opponents. So this is a very strong thing for even just a regular green deck. If you're looking for a budget option for an overrun effect, it's not bad. I wouldn't be upset about playing this. Rising of the Day is 2 in red for an enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. Legendary creatures you control get +1/+0. Don't like it. Samwise Gamgee, our friend. Look at that. It's such sweet art. Green and a white for a legendary creature, Halfling Peasant. When another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token. Sacrifice 3 foods, return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. It's really sweet. He eats and he tells stories. That's just so kind. Historic cards are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas, which are all in this set. I like this a lot. It's cute. It does cute things. Saruman of Many Colors. Many apparently is 3 colors. So it's 3 white, blue, and a black for a legendary creature Avatar Wizard at Mythic. It's a 5/4 with Ward, discard an enchantment, instant, or sorcery card. So this is very, very good Ward that's almost hexproof, because they have to discard one of those 3 types to be able to target Saruman with anything. That's very strong. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, each opponent mills 2 cards. When 1 or more cards are milled this way, exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery with equal or lesser mana value than that spell from an opponent's graveyard. Copy the exiled card. You get to cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So this is just going to get you value if they end up being able to snag him with a targeted removal or anything. They've discarded the things that he's looking for. So I think that this is going to be a good build-around commander. I don't know how particularly strong, outside of it being a 6-mana 5/4 with essentially hexproof. It is if you're not building around it. So you're going to want to be playing Opts and Ponders, so you're getting your 2 spells per turn, getting some free value off of your opponents. Notably, what's cool is that it exiles the card, copies it, and you cast the copy. So it doesn't, like if you were to cast an instant out of somebody's graveyard, and you cast the copy of it, it doesn't go back to the graveyard. It stays exiled, so it's a little bit of graveyard hate as well. I think this is going to be pretty strong, and you're going to be upset to be playing against this. At 6 mana, it's a little tough, but he's cool. We have Sauron the Dark Lord, which is 3 blue, black, and a red for a legendary creature Avatar Horror. 7/6 with Ward, sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. Again, this almost reads as hexproof. When an opponent casts a spell, amass Orcs 1. Strong, I'm in. Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. Very in. When the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. I'm very in. All of these are very cool. I want to play with this. You're gonna get so much value off of just doing the things that you want to do, as well as your opponents playing their game. You're just gonna make huge armies constantly. You're going to be being tempted by the ring, making ring bearers. It's gonna be so good. I like Sauron a lot. 6 mana for a 7/6 is a little tough. The fact that he doesn't have evasion, he does have protection though, so he's almost never going to get destroyed by anything. Very cool. Shadow of the Enemy is 3 black, black, black for a sorcery at Mythic. Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. You may cast spells from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast them. So this turns your opponent's creatures in your graveyard into cards in your hand. You don't get to cast them for free, which kind of sucks. I think I'd rather be playing Breach the Multiverse than this, which mills 10 and you just get creatures for free. I don't know if I don't actually like this one at all. The fact that you have to cast those spells sucks a lot for 6 mana. So I'm passing on Shadow of the Enemy here. Storm of Saruman is 4 blue for an enchantment with Ward 3. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it. Except the copy isn't legendary. You may choose new targets for the copy. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. I am into this. You get doubles on your instants and sorceries, you get doubles on your permanents. All you have to do is cast 2 of them a turn. So the build around here is that you're playing ramp into playing multiple things, or you're playing free costs. This is a good one. If you can land it, it will win you the game. 6 mana for an enchantment, though. There's a lot of competition in that space. The Balrog, Flame of Odun. It's 3 black-red for a legendary creature Avatar Demon. It's a 7/7 with Trample. For 5, that's huge. When a legendary creature an opponent controls dies, put the Balrog, Flame of Odun, on the bottom of its owner's library. So if somebody's commander dies while your Balrog is out, it just gets put on the bottom. It's very great flavor. If that doesn't happen, or if there's exile effects or anything like that, you just get to keep swinging in with your 7/7 with Trample, and you're having a good time. So, kind of cool. Treason of Isengard is 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Put up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. Amass Orcs 2. Kind of is just what it says. 3 mana for a 2/2 that returns an instant or sorcery from your graveyard is pretty decent. Putting it on top of your library sucks. So, I'm passing on this one. Voracious Fellbeast is 4 black for a creature Drake Beast at uncommon. It's a 4/4 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Create a food token for each creature sacrificed this way. That was pretty strong. The fact that it doesn't make you sacrifices is really good. If you have any way to keep recurring this and make all of your opponents sacrifice creatures, that's going to be very strong. I like this a lot. This is our last card for today. It's Witch King of Angmar. 3 black for a legendary creature, Wraith Noble. It's a 5/3 with flying. Whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage to you, each opponent sacrifices a creature that dealt combat damage to you this turn. The ring tempts you. Discard a card. Witch King of Angmar gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. This is very, very strong. What it essentially says is, if somebody attacks you with a creature, they have to sacrifice it at the end of the turn. Or at the end of combat, sacrifice creature. Whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage to you, each opponent sacrifices a creature that dealt combat damage to you. So yeah, it happens on damage. So it forces them into a place where they have to attack with a couple of different things if they don't want their strongest creatures to be sacrificed. But even then, you can just block, discard a card, give him indestructible, and probably kill whatever they are. It's very defensive. I like this a lot. It's a cool direction for black. I like effects that prevent people from wanting to attack you. It seems good. I'm really liking how this set is turning out so far. Today was the sort of the intro stream for it, which was very cool. There was a lot more cards that were actually spoiled via GameSpot today, but I want to wait until they come out on the official page to talk about them. So I will see you tomorrow, where we'll be talking about more Lord of the Rings spoilers. Thanks for watching. If you want to support us and you like this kind of content, like, comment, subscribe below. Again, we have links to our Discord in the bio, in the description. So if you want to join in and have some thoughts about the Lord of the Rings cards, did I miss anything? Am I not seeing any strategies? Let me know. And we will see you tomorrow. This is the MTG Thoughtcast signing off.